pastoralists affected the many empires in Eurasia during the post-classical era. The classical era ended with the fall of empires in Eurasia like the Roman Empire and the Han Dynasty. Pastoralists interacted with the empires in the post-classical era, impacting them in positive and negative ways.
While pastoralists spread destruction, they also left their legacy by bringing Eurasia closer together and reviving trade.
In southeast China during the Song Dynasty, there was a nomadic group called the Jurchen. After they conquered the Khitan and the northern Song, they settled in eastern Manchuria, living with walled towns, farm land, and domesticated animals. They're excellent at horse riding and breeding, which gave them an upper hand in war. Their strong cavalry helped them dominate other pastoralists and empires.
In the Jurchen army, they are preparing for war against the Khitan. The leader had been paid to conquer the Khitan by the Song Empire.
Tugan is a soldier in the Jurchen cavalry. He has ridden horses since he was young and has been an active hunter in his clan.
After the Jurchen defeated the Khitan, they took over the northern part of the Song Dynasty. The Song Dynasty was taken by surprise since they didn't expect the hired soldiers to turn on them.
Tugan and his fellow soldiers were able to tell that the Song Dynasty did not have a powerful military, and saw an opportunity to gain prosperous land. The Tang, the dynasty before the Song, had a strong military, but during the Song Dynasty, the empire got rid of military leaders since he did not trust them.
However, this was not the end of the Song Dynasty. They continued on in the southern part of the empire. The Jurchen only conquered the northern part since the southern land was undesirable to them.
Like the Jurchen, Mahmud, an Ilkhanid ruler, attacked empires.
Mahmud led multiple raids into India and destroyed many Buddhist temples. Although he originally had no interest in expanding to India, he later led conquests that brought northern India under his control.
Mahmud's destruction of temples hastened the decline of Buddhism. Buddhist temples were a primary target since they were extremely wealthy.
Unlike the Jurchen and Mahmud, Turks got a reputation for destruction, not by military means, but by being the reason for the Abbasid Empire's decline. The caliphs who ruled the Abbasid Empire soon became figureheads controlled by the Turkish governors.
Even though they didn't destroy the Abbasid Empire by military means, they were still skilled at archery and horseback. Azuman, a trained horseman, carried 2 or 3 bows into battle, along with spare bowstrings to be prepared.
Azuman has raised his horse since it was born. The horse now follows behind him when he runs and comes when he calls. If his horse ever gets tired, Azuman can dismount a tired horse directly onto a new one.
The Turks came into the Abbasid Empire and took over the position of governors. They became increasingly independent and soon controlled the caliphs.
The Abbasid Empire was eventually conquered by Mongols.
The Mongols had many different customs. Chingay, a wealthy Mongolian man, had up to 200 carts, which his wives were in charge of. Chingay's wives were also in charge of setting up the yurt. A yurt is a Mongolian tent. According to their customs, a yurt is to be set up facing south.
Within the tents, the couch that Chingay sits on faces south. Women would sit on the east and men would sit on the west. The mistresses of the house would also place a stuffed goat skin on their right side at the foot of the couch.
During the summer, Chingay and his clan rely on cosmos, or mare's milk, for nutrition. If a horse or oxen happens to die, Chingay's wives will lay out the meat to dry in order to preserve it. From their intestines they make sausages, which they eat fresh.
The Mongols, like other pastoralists, excelled at horseback and archery. Genghis Khan used this to his advantage when he took over the Eurasian empires. As the Mongols conquered cities, they took people with specialized skills and moved them to different cities.
Moving people to foreign places spread their culture around. This brought Eurasia closer together.
While campaigning in Hungary, the Mongols took a goldsmith named Gwalam Butcher to the Mongol capital at Karakoram. Butcher supervised 50 assistants in a workshop, even though he was technically a slave. They produced decorative ornaments for the Mongol court.
Butcher was not the only foreigner living in Karakorum. His wife, of French descent, was brought with him to the capital. Other visitors met German, Slavic, Hungarian, Chinese, Korean, Turkish, Persian, and Armenian people in the capital.
They didn't only move people to the capital, but also moved them to places where the Mongols needed them. This spread culture around Eurasia. The unification of Eurasia came from moving people around and spreading their culture.
The revival and spread of the bubonic plague is evidence that people were traveling across Eurasia and that it was unified.
Besides bringing Eurasia closer together, the Mongols also revived trade. People had even written guides on how to be a merchant. Within these guides, it also stated that Mongol peace was important in facilitating trade across Eurasia. The Mongols had established safer roads and effectively decreased banditry.
In the guide, the author mentions how it was safe during the night or day to travel on the roads.
People even traveled across the road and documented what they saw.
Marco Polo traveled across Asia and gave descriptions of the towns he encountered. Lop was an Islamic town at the edge of the Taklamakan Desert subjected to Khan. At this town, merchants stopped before they journeyed across the desert.
In the city of Tato, there was an extravagant mansion documented by someone who was able to travel across the trade routes since they were so safe. Within the palace, there were ducks, so the master of the house never had to hunt. The city was eventually taken out by Mongols.
The safe roads allowed more merchants to travel without the fear of getting mugged. The Mongols successfully revived the trade in Eurasia.
The pastoralists affected the empires in Eurasia and left a long-lasting impression upon them. Their legacy of revived trade, Eurasian unification, and destruction is how historians should view the role of pastoralists. The pastoralists affected the empires in Eurasia and left a long-lasting impression upon them. They rained destruction onto unsuspecting cities. When Mahmud raided Indian towns and the Seljuk Turks led to the decline of the Abbasid Empire. After their reign of destruction, the Mongols united Eurasia by assimilating people into new cultures. Not only did people adopt cultures of the places they moved to, but they spread their own. Along with the unification of Eurasia, the Mongols made the trade routes safer, allowing merchants to travel without fear of being mugged. Their legacy of revived trade, Eurasian unification, and destruction is how historians should view the role of pastoralists.